I don't know how many years on this earth I got left. I'm gonna get real weird with it.
Hello my darlings, it's Chanel and welcome to another Get Real Weird With It vlog where I read weird, transgressive, bizarro and just generally less mainstream books. Today's books don't just break the rules, they disintegrate them, snort the dust and scream into the void. We're diving into fiction that's feral, grotesque, horny, hilarious, and absolutely unhinged. From techno-cynical heartbreak to Giantess sperm wars, this is not your gentle literary stroll. These are books that slap, bite, and ghost you the next morning. Let's get weird. I apologize for the construction noise. It's unavoidable at this point. The first book that I'm talking about is How to Avoid Sex by Matthew Revert. It begins with an introduction from the author's brother that starts with a line, "My brother is a wanker." So this is a bizarro fiction short story collection with the first story being about tempting furniture. Throw your logic and preconceived notions out the window. This book is unpredictable and wackadoodle with a vibe of, look at this distinguished gentleman. Look at the way he's sitting, yes. Very distinguished, I see. The first story begin with a quote from the first story, which is, "The scourge of sex continues to degrade us, undermining the superior moral fiber of which we are capable." In this story, you have a celibate man who is searching for the perfect bathroom. He ends up finding one in the woods, and whilst he's evacuating his bowels, he spies some graffiti of a sexual nature on the cubicle door, and his curiosity gets the better of him. He ends up meeting up with a sentient chair, and his world is turned upside down. The next story is about a man who is addicted to shoes with horrific consequences. Then we have a story with a hook-endowed captain who loses his crew to a pointless masturbatory sea journey. Then we have a story about a guy whose roommate essays him while he's asleep and likes to record tapes of it. The next story is about a wife who complains that her husband never carries her, and then he does and harms some cats along the way. And then we have a story about a kid who sees his girl crush do the splits, and in an effort to impress her, attempts to do the splits himself and gets stuck. These stories were all filled with loneliness, social alienation, and just really bizarre relationships. I didn't enjoy it, but read it if you like sitting down, bizarre books that question societal norms, and a bucket load of jizz. The next book I picked up was Giantess, Globalist, Sperm War by Mandy DeSandra. This is another bizarro fiction featuring a female anatomy lesson. This is set in a post-apocalyptic world that has been ravaged by a bomb, and it ends up with a society of women who have transformed into these giantesses. And any adult man that survived this event, they crushed and killed, but they did allow the little boy children to live. And that's because these boys grow up to basically function as sperm for the giantesses. So we've got the story, and the main character is Tyson, and he's waiting for Eve Night. And Eve Night is an event where the giantesses select a couple of guys to compete for the honor of fertilizing her egg and being reborn. I guess you could say that it has themes perhaps of rebirth, competition, and societal restructuring. There's also some toxic masculinity, gender roles, extremism, and authoritarianism in it. It's basically a Hunger Games pussy race where first person to the egg wins and gets to be a giant man baby. It's like the Willy Wonka boat ride, but put it inside a woman's reproductive system. I didn't enjoy it, but read it if you like drinking spit, the smell of oranges, and mountains of ash. The next book was sent to me by the author. This is Left Unread by G.C. McKay. This is a collection of satirical, transgressive short stories that delve into modern loneliness, digital dating, internet culture, and the absurdity of trying to connect in a hyper disconnected world. Sorry, bluebells. Yes, Bluebell, she's distracting me. It kind of reads like a confessional voice memo from someone who is spiraling into misanthropy. Is that how you pronounce that word? I've never actually read it out loud. But still wanting intimacy. It features awkward Tinder dates, millennial disaffection, nihilistic rants, and the persistent bitter sting of being left unread. So I will briefly talk about the short stories in this collection. So it starts off with Aftertaste, which was probably my favorite short story Yeah, and this is about a virgin Belle Delphine wannabe who is hard up after hot tub streams have been banned. So she ends up taking the offer of a fan to sell branded condoms for some cash. He has stipulations though, and she disregards them. I learned a new word. I'm going to put this book down, I don't know why I'm holding it up, which was threnody. And for those of you who don't know, threnody is a song, hymn, poem, or other composition of mourning, often performed as a memorial for the dead. It's a form of lamentation expressing grief and sorrow. It can be an elegy. The term originates from the Greek word threnodía, meaning wailing song. There was also a really interesting term of phrase, which was, a used condom is a petit mot in a bag. I do have one issue with this story. I don't know any women who pee and immediately just pull up their knickers without wiping. That sounds like a fast train to UTI. I don't think there are women out there who don't wipe. Women's knickers are expensive, my dudes. No one's going to be ruining them, and like I said, messing with their vaginal health. So that part, I was like, are there any women out there in the world who don't wipe? I don't think so. The next story was called I'm blank years old and I've never had a girlfriend. And this is about the internet and about someone who tries to lose their V card but is unsuccessful. Then we have FaceTimer, which is about a dude and his chick who keep cheating on each other until he FaceTimes her a live event. And then we have Sauce, which is, this is about a woman whose ex thinks she liked attention too much and he rubs hot sauce into her coochie and her eyes before bouncing, and now she does it to herself whilst hoping he comes back to her. And then we have Thirsty Female Instagram Poet, and this is about a Sherry who creates words using her own name and writes poetry. She loves sucking on sweet things, and she loses her mind when a dude she likes asks if he can read her poem on his podcast. And her excitement about it turns to rage at its reception. Then we have Bus Catching, wherein a dude helps chicks off themselves. We've got Tribute, where a guy gets solicited a homemade tape that will have him breaking his no-fap streak and spunking rainbows to someone he knows. We have Je ne sais quoi, which is about a dude who loses his wife, and then his adult but mentally impaired daughter starts tempting him, and he thinks, well, maybe she might not be my biological daughter, so, you know. And then we have Chameleon, which is about a dude who goes to a club and treats a woman horribly. This book is filled with incels, thirst trap queens, digital age decay, and dehumanization. Log on, unzip, jack in. Please check all the trigger warnings for this one. Read it if you like hot pink bikinis, male loneliness, and Maltesers. The next book I picked up was this one. This is Nunchuk City by Brian Asman. The cover of this reminded me of my favorite Sega game, Streets of Rage. I naturally always played as Blaze, and I freaking love that game, so I couldn't resist. It also reminds me of some other things which I'll talk about in a second. So this is a high-octane genre-blending romp that gleefully skewers lowbrow humor and non-stop martial arts action. So it's set in Turbo City, and it follows a disgraced ex-ninja, Nunchuk Nicolopoulos, who dreams of opening a drive-through fondue restaurant. Unfortunately, a wrench is thrown into his plans when the mayor, whose signature he needs to open his restaurant, is kidnapped by an old enemy. And this forces Nick to work alongside his ex-girlfriend, kick-ass ninja martial artist Kana Kikuchi, to take down this foe. It's basically a mashup of 80s action films, video game culture, and satirical comedy. You've got violent ninjas, an Australian sumo wrestler called Slag, which I'm going to read a quote. Please tell me I bookmarked it. I did not. You're going to have to wait. I have to read some Slag to you. Good luck. Me bum is sealed up tighter and a baby kangaroo's coocheroonie. And you've just given me a bright idea for this little beaut. And it also features a robot ninja as well. The action scenes are quite visceral and violent, but they're also very slapstick humor. This book clearly chugged 6 Monster energy drinks in one go. It's Cobra Kai. it's Kung Fury, it's Beverly Hills Ninja, even a bit of Die Hard with its tagline, "G'day, motherfucker." It's non-stop martial arts mayhem. This book is like cheap pizza. It ain't great, but it is edible and filling. I do, however, feel like it could have been a little bit shorter, but I did have a fun time. I love 80s, 90s action movies. I eat them up. I love video games. I love martial arts. So yeah, this ain't for everybody, but read it if you like Van Damme, Fondue, Rav4s, Sega, and CNC Music Factory. Hello, Sylvie. The next book I read is I'll Bring You the Birds from Out of the Sky by Brian Hodge. This is a cosmic fungal folk horror about artistic expression. This is set in the Appalachian Mountains, and the story follows a gallery owner named Timothy who is presented with a painting from Nona that was created by her enigmatic great-grandfather. The discovery leads Thomas deeper into this deceased man's collection of folk art, which ends up revealing truths about Cecil's life and the very eerie inspirations behind his work. It's a quiet, creeping horror edged with sadness and grief. Supposedly the physical book versions of this, which this book is no longer in print, are hard to find, but the pictures are gorgeous. So I'll be putting pictures up here of the illustrations in this fungal art country horror book. I did really enjoy this one. Read it if you like mushrooms, madmen, art, and savants. So that was your tour through the absurd, the horny, the apocalyptic, and the heartbreakingly weird. These books are likely to leave you shaken, stirred, and perhaps a bit concussed. Let me know your favorite brand of Unhinged in the comments, and I'll bring the birds, or the nunchucks, or the globalist sperm. So that's everything for the reading vlog. I am heading out today. I've got to go pick up Hunchback from the bookstore so I can read that for my International Book Prize reading vlog. I'm probably going to go pop into the cafe. I might have to go to office work to print some things. But yeah, anything I do today, you're coming along for the ride with me. Until next time, stay weird, star child. I forgot to mention I am wearing a perfume today, and that is Jo Malone's Myrrh and Tonka, and this smells like a sexy confessional with a hot priest. It's smoky, creamy, and lavender kissed with a warm resinous aura. Hello, blue. Quite pleasant. The bag has been secured. Sweeties. Nova has entered the chat. Nova, don't look away. Nova, come on. Nova Moon. Nova Moon. Black cats, man.
We are the weirdos, mister.